Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Allegations of hazing and sexual assault involving the University of San Diego's football team have now been followed by the sudden departure of the USD Executive Director of Athletics. Thanks for joining us. I'm John Carroll in for Maya Trabulsi. The announcement came today in a press release that says Bill McGillis left the private Roman Catholic University for other professional opportunities. KPBS education reporter M.G. Perez has been following the story and has the latest details.
The University of San Diego is not making any connection between today's sudden departure of Athletics Director Bill McGillis and a lawsuit filed just last week by USD's newest freshman football quarterback. The complaint came from A.J. Perez, who just transferred to USD from Utah Tech in August, with hopes that his playing with the team would lead him to the NFL. Instead, the quarterback alleges he was a victim of sexual hazing involving two separate incidents with upperclassmen on the football team, forcing him and other rookies to take part in rituals, he says, involving nudity and pornography. The university is conducting an internal investigation of the football team, and its president has promised that players found responsible for violating school policy will face disciplinary action. Then this morning, in a press release, the university announced McGillis would be leaving his position immediately for other professional opportunities. McGillis became executive director of the Toreros athletics department back in 2016. During his time, USD teams won multiple West Coast Conference championships and made appearances at the NCAA tournament. The USD Athletics Public Information Officer told KPBS there would be no further comments from the university regarding McGillis's leaving. We also reached out to the attorney representing the freshman quarterback in his lawsuit, and we were told they will not be making any comment at this time. M.G. Perez, KPBS News.
The housing market seems to be slowing down in San Diego County and beyond. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer looks at what that means for buyers, sellers, and renters in the region, as well as one anomaly in North County.
Southern California home sales, including San Diego County, hit one of the lowest levels ever last month. CoreLogic chief economist Selma Hepp says mortgage rates continue to hurt purchase power.
Home sales activity has been on a decline since summer of last year, ever since mortgage rates started increasing, and now we have hit the lowest point in 15 years in terms of home sales activity.
I've been in real estate 20 plus years. This is probably the hardest year that I've gone through.
Local real estate agent Voltaire Lepe says he and other agents are feeling the pinch, especially over the last few months. His sales are down about 50%.
The current state of the housing market in San Diego County today, I would say, is on a downward trend as far as less sales, and I believe prices are also going to drop, or are dropping right now slightly, because demand is down.
But at the same time, San Diego County recorded its highest ever priced home sale last week, with an oceanfront Del Mar property going for $44.1 million. For ultra-wealthy buyers, Lepe says the interest rates often don't make or break a decision.
When you have a cash buyer, they don't care if the interest rate's 8% versus 6. Compared to a lot of my clients who are payment sensitive, 6% rate to 8% rate is a huge difference in their monthly payments, and it's a big percentage of their monthly income.
Hepp says a lack of overall housing supply may keep prices close to their current levels for the foreseeable future. She says that makes the housing market tough for lower-income renters and potential first-time homebuyers.
While we do have demand, there's still a lot of people that are being completely priced out of the market.
The average cost of a 30-year home mortgage is now 7.79%, according to Freddie Mac, the highest since 2000. The Federal Reserve left interest rates unchanged Wednesday, but signaled that future rate hikes are still possible. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
We have more on the Fed's interest rate decision today. Coming up, what factors played into leaving the rate unchanged and what it means for you. Fire crews in Riverside County are in for a longer firefight than they were hoping for. The Highland Fire has now grown to nearly 2,500 acres and is 15% contained. That's according to CAL FIRE's latest update. More than 2,300 structures are threatened or damaged, and 7 have been destroyed. Experts say smoke from the Highland Fire is impacting the air San Diego County residents breathe. The National Weather Service issued a second air quality alert for our inland areas that began at 2 this afternoon. The alert covers El Cajon, Escondido, San Marcos, La Mesa, Santee, and Poway. An alert was also issued yesterday. Smoke exposure could lead to serious health conditions for people and pets.
At my age, I'm 70, the smoke is not good for me. It's hard for them because I can't explain it to them. So, you know, they're smart, but they're not that smart.
If you smell smoke, the National Weather Service recommends you stay inside, keep windows closed, run the AC or air purifiers, and avoid using fireplaces to burn wood. The smoke alert is set to expire at 10 tomorrow morning.
I'm Mariella Scalise, and coming up tonight on KPBS, we are talking about temperatures dropping back into the 40s under a clear and cooler conditions moving on through. The winds start to lighten up a bit as we head into the coming days, which will be a nice change of pace. But temperatures will rather stay cool at night and warmer into the afternoon. We'll let you know what's ahead as we head into the rest of the week through the weekend.
Evacuations are underway after the crossing between Egypt and Gaza opened slightly. Egyptian authorities are allowing in limited numbers of injured civilians and foreign nationals holding passports. As Laura Aguirre reports, it comes as Israel ramps up its strikes on Hamas.
Chaos in the aftermath of an Israeli strike on Gaza's largest refugee camp, Jabalia, Tuesday. The densely populated camp is filled with families with children and embedded Hamas militants, says Israeli military officials. The IDF confirms they targeted and killed several Hamas combatants, including a top commander in the strike.
Our bombs struck not on buildings, but in between the buildings because we were aiming for the tunnel complex where the Hamas combatant commander was.
Wednesday, a second Israeli airstrike in the same camp. A doctor at the scene told CNN that there were hundreds wounded and dead.
It is because there are terrorists that are embedded there. The IDF right now is fighting in face-to-face combat with Hamas terrorists inside Jabalia. Ultimately speaking, the collateral damage, and this is very clear, is on Hamas's shoulders.
Meanwhile, at the Rafah gate crossing between Egypt and Gaza, limited evacuations have begun. Part of a deal brokered by Qatar between Israel, Hamas, and Egypt in coordination with the U.S., according to sources familiar with the talks.
An initial group of foreign nationals, including U.S. citizens, departed Gaza through Rafah today. And we expect exits of U.S. citizens and foreign nationals to continue over the next several days.
This as hundreds of others wait outside the gate, hopeful that they too will soon escape the horrors of war. I'm Laura Aguirre for KPBS News.
Volunteers are guarding a Día de los Muertos ofrenda in Hillcrest. Last year's ofrenda was vandalized. KPBS reporter Katie Hyson visited the altar in the heart of the LGBTQ+ community.
Beneath the towering pride flag wave brightly colored papel picados. Candles flicker around framed photos of loved ones who have died. And their favorite treats, hot tamales, concha, fireball whiskey, and a lone cigarette. At the center, a pair of work gloves worn black with use. Tucked among the frames are icons of the gay community: Leslie Jordan, Betty White, Marsha P. Johnson, and Mexican singer Juan Gabriel, whose song plays as traffic passes. A woman crowned in flowers sits guard.
Last year, folks that didn't understand the ofrenda ended up destroying it.
Carla Quezada Torres says she is one of a dozen volunteers who have been guarding the ofrenda all day and night to make sure it doesn't get vandalized again. She says the community ofrenda gives people a chance to grieve together.
Sometimes that takes a lot more strength and courage and an opportunity to embrace each other during a moment of pain.
Many of the faces in this ofrenda are noticeably young. Quezada Torres says that reflects death by suicide, homicide, and AIDS among the LGBTQ+ community. But more than grieving, she says, they celebrate their lives. Katie Hyson, KPBS News.
This year, KPBS is hosting a digital community ofrenda. We invited KPBS viewers, listeners, and readers to share their memories of loved ones who have passed away. You can find it online at kpbs.org/Day of the Dead. For artists, blank walls are open canvases, and Oceanside has walls the city would like to see filled. So they're calling on artists for help. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne says more art is expected to fill spaces near the Oceanside Transit Center.
So Pozole here behind, it's adjacent to downtown Oceanside. This mural was kind of to describe what is the culture here in Pozole.
Gumaro Escarcega with Main Street Oceanside describes one of the murals the organization helped become a reality.
Which brings a lot of great things, but an amazing thing is that this is a resilient community.
And there's a push to bring more art like this to the city. A mural will soon cover the entrance to Oceanside's Transit Center parking structure.
The great thing about this is the community gets to choose these murals, and these are Oceansiders that come and support the arts in our community.
Because Oceanside is one of California's 14 cultural districts, Escarcega says there is funding to help support the artists submitting applications.
So this is an opportunity for artists to get compensated to what they have been doing, and also it's a place to demonstrate great aesthetics and synergy in a local area.
And there's another opportunity for artists just on the other side of the parking structure. What is now a cold and dark pedestrian rail tunnel will soon be filled with art. The North County Transit District is putting this project forward as an effort to improve safety and enhance the space.
The tunnel, not only serves our passengers, but also is a community asset and a gateway to the coastal areas for the residents. And we started talking about how we could make it a more hospitable place, and we developed the idea for doing a public art project within the tunnel.
Chris Orlando is with the transit agency. They have also tapped Main Street Oceanside to help with the search for the artists that will fill the tunnel's walls.
It's a big space. It can be leveraged by multiple artists being compensated in a fair compensation as a professional artist or professional muralist, or depending on the media, it can be sculptures, we're open to any ideas that can be done here in this project.
NCTD and Main Street Oceanside want to make sure the community is involved in the process of the art project along with the final selection. Caltrans awarded a $144,000 grant to support the project. The funding will allow NCTD to pay for the artwork as well as security improvements to the tunnel. Applications for the tunnel art project are expected to open in the spring. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, after weeks of being trapped in Gaza, some Palestinians are allowed to flee into Egypt. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
This fall, students across California are starting to receive new resources and opportunities in their education of the arts. Almost a year ago, voters approved Prop 28 with guaranteed funding for programs like music, theater, and graphic design. KPBS education reporter MG Perez tells us how that is now helping children with special needs.
Take your hands, put them together, and then open them up.
Heather Gaunt is a visual arts teacher, introducing the concept of symmetry. Her hands-on lesson is essential for this classroom of children. Halima, can you tell me what you are drawing today?
Sugar skull.
Sugar skull. 8-year-old Halima is deaf. She communicates with a personal computer device. An adult assistant types the words spoken to her so she can read them. She, in turn, types her responses that are announced by a digital voice.
It's color of love.
Halima is among dozens of other children who are deaf and hard of hearing at Lafayette Elementary in Claremont Mesa. The students who have special needs to communicate come to this campus from all over the county for services and their education. Gaunt is their arts teacher. She's leading a lesson today in drawing colorful skulls honoring Día de los Muertos. There are ASL interpreters to support students who need it. Her classes also include students who can hear. They all have a creative instinct.
I love seeing additions. I love seeing things that I haven't put on mine. I've seen in other classes someone maybe draws a hat. You look for the word copy, and then you touch anywhere, and it says paste.
Gaunt is a teacher with San Diego Unified's Visual and Performing Arts program, known as VAPA. She is busier these days, traveling to multiple schools, and more often because of new funding from Proposition 28, the measure that guarantees about $1 billion in state money for arts programs and more teachers every year for every public school district. This is also about supporting the mental health of her students.
Their whatever, ideas, frustrations, worries. So I think it's a benefit immediately. And for the younger we get them into it, the sooner they realize that's part of them that becomes an important part of their life forever.
All right, once you've drawn your 2 circles, ready? Turn your paper upside down.
And that begins now for students who might not hear, but they can see. According to Annette Miner, who is a deaf adult service interpreter with the district, who has seen many success stories.
But a lot of deaf kids, their visual acuity is really good. And so some of them are really, really good artists. We have a lot of kids here who, it's amazing what they can produce.
San Diego Unified is committed to hiring many more arts teachers and holding the state accountable for maintaining the annual billion-dollar pipeline of funding. Russ Sperling is the director of VAPA, talking about the commitment to students of every ability.
That's a big chunk of change and a lot of opportunities, and if we're not giving them an opportunity starting in kindergarten to work their way up and learn about the arts, then we're shortchanging them.
For students like Halima, that's an invitation to keep growing and creating. You like to draw animals?
Yes.
Tell me what's your favorite animal to draw?
Ferrets and cats.
Ferrets and cats. MG Perez, KPBS News.
As we mentioned, the Federal Reserve is holding interest rates steady amid a growing economy and despite continued high inflation. But as Mike Valerio reports, high interest rates and high prices are putting consumers in a bind.
The economy is booming. The highest interest rates in more than 20 years yet to dampen the jobs market, home prices, or consumer spending. However, the increased cost of borrowing will likely take a toll in the months ahead.
Expect the Federal Reserve to maintain a vigilant posture, even if they're not raising rates, just in an effort to keep conditions tight and push inflation closer to that 2% mark. There's also some concern about the health of a lot of consumers.
Consumers are wary. Confidence in the economy is down for the 3rd month in a row, even as spending and wages are up.
Inflation has hit hardest in categories that are absolute necessities. Household expenses are considerably higher than they were just a few years ago, and the income may not have kept up.
And for many, that means more borrowing.
I think if you paint with a broad brush, it ignores the reality that about 60% of households are living paycheck to paycheck. We've seen credit card balances going up at a time when credit card rates are at a record high.
While the economy has remained stronger for longer than economists anticipated, Bankrate.com's Greg McBride says a downturn could still come in 2024, and people should be prepared if and when recession hits.
Pay down debt, particularly high-cost debt like credit cards, boost your emergency savings. That's going to be a buffer between you and high-cost debt if you have an income disruption.
I'm Mike Valerio reporting.
Some San Diegans are rushing to bring aid to loved ones in Acapulco. Neighborhoods there were ravaged by Hurricane Otis, like Mozimba, 20 miles to the north. That's where Lily Martinez's 61-year-old mother is. Martinez says 5 days after Otis left its mark, she finally learned her mother was safe. But without food, electricity, or water, her situation is dire.
She was scared because she's alone. I cannot do anything. I wish I can drive and rescue my mom.
Martinez says most aid has been directed to tourist areas. She created a GoFundMe page to help buy essential supplies for her mother and that neighborhood. She says another shipment will be made on Friday.
And let's start off with our weather headlines as we look ahead. Lighter winds beginning to move in tonight and throughout our day on Thursday. The mornings and nights will be cool, but the days should be nice and warm and pleasant. As we head throughout the weekend, we're watching more of an onshore flow returning, so some of those lower clouds will continue to dominate the area. Tonight, a clear sky and cool temperatures, 41 in Oceanside, San Diego 49, Mount Laguna 41, Borrego Springs down into the mid-40s, so staying cool through tonight, which means a cool start out the door for our Thursday. And then Thursday afternoon, dry and pretty comfortable throughout most of the region. Looking good if you have any plans to be outside. High temperatures will rebound nicely into Oceanside, 81. San Diego also rebounding pretty quickly at 79. Borrego Springs 85, Mount Laguna staying cooler with temperatures into the upper 50s. And much the same as we head throughout the day on Friday, dry and pleasant conditions take over. So another good day to be outside and enjoy. And looking ahead to the weekend where we're going to have problems in Northern California and up through Oregon and Washington, where a series of storms will continue to impact the Pacific Northwest. Meanwhile, we will stay dry here throughout Southern California. I want to go to the coast here, let you know about the forecast over the next couple of days as we'll see temperatures gradually cooling as we head into the weekend, back into the low 70s by the time we start next week. Further inland, we will also notice a cooling trend each day, losing a few degrees, upper 80s on Thursday, mid-80s Friday, low 80s on Saturday, and then by Sunday, temperatures are back into the 70s. We look at your 5-day outlook into the mountains where temperatures will hold pretty steady over the next couple of days. We're talking highs into the upper 50s, lows into the 40s and 50s. But as we head into Monday, could have some cooler conditions sticking around. And then into the deserts where temperatures will stay pretty steady into the mid to upper 90s or 80s as we head into the next few days. For KPBS News, I'm Ariella Scalise.
Today, lithium-ion batteries power so much of what we use. Electric cars, laptops, and of course our smartphones. But most of us don't understand how they work or how to extend their life. KPBS Sci-Tech reporter Thomas Fudge talked to a scientist who studies batteries.
In one sense, the inner workings of a lithium-ion battery are pretty simple.
The operation of a lithium-ion battery is really lithium ions moving back and forth between, so sort of hopping back and forth or shuttling back and forth between this positive electrode and this negative electrode. And when they move back and forth is when you're able to either power your device, when they're moving from the negative electrode to the positive electrode, or when you're charging your battery, you're taking them out of the positive and putting them in the negative.
UC San Diego professor Kent Griffith tells us that movement of ions and electrons inside the battery determines how long your charge is going to last and how long the battery itself will survive. Here's one rule. Don't keep your battery plugged in and fully charged for a long time.
When it's 100% charged, that's the worst case for a battery because that's when degradation happens the fastest.
A good example is a portable computer or laptop that's constantly plugged in. Its battery is always fully charged, so it'll wear out really fast. Another rule? Lithium batteries degrade quickly when they're hot.
So if you can avoid your battery being at 100% state of charge and you can avoid it being hot, say sitting on the dashboard of a car in the sun, those will really improve the longevity of your device.
One more tip on how to lengthen your battery's charge. When you're traveling long distances, lock onto a moving Wi-Fi signal or put your cell phone on airplane mode.
If it doesn't have a strong signal and it's trying to find one, such as if you are actually flying on an airplane, then it's going to work really hard and it's going to drain the battery quickly. And it's a futile exercise, right? There's not going to be a signal to be found from a normal cell phone tower.
Griffith's scientific work focuses on trying to find ways for batteries to work better.
So this is our battery laboratory. So here
in his battery lab, you find materials and tools like a glove box that you can use to assemble materials in a dry, low-oxygen environment. Lithium can ignite when exposed to normal air. He says for now, nothing beats the lithium-ion technology.
And let's get one thing sort of straight. I mean, lithium-ion is the best technology that we have, right? That's why it is almost universally used in terms of how much energy it can store. So lithium-ion works really well.
But lithium is a limited resource that has to be mined. One thing Griffith is investigating is the possibility of creating sodium-ion batteries.
So if we could make the switch to sodium-ion batteries, we wouldn't have to ever worry about running out of sodium. So there's a sustainability aspect to it, and there's also potentially a cost aspect to it. So lithium is far more expensive than sodium.
But for now, lithium-ion is the standard. So let your cell phone or laptop run down and be recharged, and don't leave it too long in the sun. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
Good to know. Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. As the Major League Baseball season ends, NPR's Morning Edition called back a former pitcher to talk about whether any of the new rules this season made a difference in the game. And KPBS Midday Edition has more on Día de los Muertos celebrations, including our own digital altar sharing your memories of loved ones. And as always, you can find our stories on you can find all of our stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm John Carroll. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following: by viewers like you. Thank you.